What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. The predictions do not stop here. Yesterday I predicted the Championship match day 5. Today we've got the Premier League edition of my predictions. This time we are predicting match day 3. And I feel like it's this stage of the season where the teams are starting to settle a little bit. There's still some transfers going in, chopping and changing approaches. There's still very much a big mess and a big unpredictability about these opening games of the season, which is exciting. Now, I really got to up my game with these predictions, so I'm going to take no approaches there. I'm just going to go as completely safe and at times maybe as bold as possible, but you guys soon see at least on what my predictions will be. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just brings the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button. It really does help the growth of this channel too, and please also share the channel too. That really helps. If you guys want to be involved in the prediction league for the Premier League, all you got to do is comment your Premier League predictions in the comments down below. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these Premier League games. So the first game to predict is Spurs versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, I really can't speak about Spurs. It's been really tough for me to get over for the fact that Chelsea didn't get anything against Spurs. Spurs were very damn lucky to get a point out of it. And Mike Dean even confessed yesterday, actually, that he made a mistake not informing Anthony Taylor to look at VAR. I've got to forget about it. It's in the past. What's happened has happened now. But it is a nuisance in Chelsea's start. And Spurs, for the fact that they managed to get scammed that draw, I'm not really edging them in terms of, how good in form they may be going into this game, being unbeaten so far in the league. They face a Wolverhampton Wanderers side who've only picked up 1 point this season, and they've only scored 1 goal in their opening 2 games as well. So they're looking short for goals, and the players are still leaving the door of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Morgan Gibbs-White has recently left to join Nottingham Forest, of course. So if we're going to keep getting these players leaving, it's not going to be good. But they have made new signings very recently. Gonzalo Guedes, who I think will be a decent signing as well. And I also think the signing of Mateus Nunes, I think, will be a good signing as well. But just give it time, and I definitely think he will be involved for Wolves at some stage. Spurs are looking like they're busy in the transfer window as well. So this is potentially not the team we're going to see, come through most of the season. I think both teams are still eager to make changes to their team before the transfer window ends in 2 weeks' time. In terms of a prediction, based on the squads, I still think Spurs will be comfortable. I think Wolves' lack of potency and lack of threats going forward, I think, will definitely let them down. I'm going to go 2-0 to Spurs. Let me know what you think about that prediction, guys, in the comments down below. Next game to predict is going to be Crystal Palace going up against Aston Villa. So these are going to be the 3 o'clock kickoffs now. And I'm really intrigued about this game, actually, because it's against 2 managers who've been great midfielders, in around my era of watching football as well. Crystal Palace managed to get their first point of the season by managing to get an away point against Liverpool, to play Arsenal and Liverpool for your first 2 games back to back. Palace have done well, in my opinion, not to lose both those games, and I think they've done really well, Crystal Palace. It was definitely a very defence-minded performance. They did actually have most of the game have one man up as an advantage, but Crystal Palace weren't naive enough to keep committing men forward. They knew the talent of Liverpool and they got the point. And ultimately, that's all they needed, because they were defeated by a quality goal by Diaz. Had that not happened, then Crystal Palace would have picked up all 3 points. Aston Villa picked up their first 3 points of the season by beating Everton by 2-1. A brilliant performance by Emiliano Buendia, who he got involved with the goals. Also, we managed to see Danny Ings getting on the score sheet. They had a bit of a scare when Lucas Digne scored an own goal, giving Everton's only goal so far this season. But other than that, they looked alright. I think the only time they had a little bit of doubt in their lead was the final 10 minutes. Now, if Aston Villa can improve their away performance like they did last time when they lost 2-0 to Bournemouth, I think they'll give Crystal Palace a good game. I think Crystal Palace has got some players recovering. I do think Elise could potentially be featured. He was substituted on at a later stage. Aston Villa have got a bit of a blow. They're signing Diego Carlos is out for 6 months, which is such a shame. I really wanted to see more in the Premier League, and we won't see him for pretty much near the end of the season now. So as a prediction going into this game, based on the injuries and based on the squads as they look right now, I don't think I can edge either one of them. I'm going to go for a narrow 1-1 draw. I think it'll be a really tight game. Let me know what you think of that prediction in the comments down below. Next game to predict is another 3 o'clock kickoff. It's Everton going up against Nottingham Forest. So Everton still yet to pick up a single point this season, and actually none of their starting 11 have scored a goal as well. As I said, the only goal they've scored was an own goal from the opposing player, so this team technically has not scored a goal yet. And one thing I do have concern with Everton is that Salomon Rondon is their only recognised fit centre forward. Of course, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's still injured. We've still got a load of injuries at the back. Godfrey, which we saw him injured against Chelsea. We also see Yerry Mina injured as well. Connor Cody's going to have to play in that back line. Anthony Gordon, who's been heavily linked with Chelsea, actually, will definitely play a huge part in this game. And I can understand why Everton are going to be very reluctant to let him go this year. In terms of Nottingham Forest, they picked up their first win of the season, a great win against West Ham, and maybe rode their luck a little bit. Obviously, West Ham had a goal disallowed, and also West Ham missed a penalty as well. But sometimes in the Premier League, you need a bit of luck. Nottingham Forest most definitely had that luck, and they managed to get something out of it. And I'm hoping for their sake that this win is going to eject them up the table and potentially get a good round of form, because they're still yet to convince me that they can survive in this league. Nottingham Forest, I've got to be honest, I do think defensively they're not as strong, as I've seen them in the Championship. I do think the lack of pace in the centre-backs is getting exposed a little bit. And I do think if they miss chances going forward, they do get punished for it as well. They created nothing against Newcastle. And one positive I would say against West Ham, at least, is that they actually created some things. So it's a great step forward. This game, though, for the fact I'm not really confident with Everton, for the fact they've not had a single one of their actual players score a goal. And obviously Nottingham Forest only scoring the one goal themselves out of their team at the moment. I don't think we'll see many goals. Just a lack of quality going forward, I think. So I'm going to say a 0-0 draw for this game. If you agree with me, do let me know in the comments down below. Next game to predict is actually really, really interesting. It is none other than a West London derby. Fulham versus Brentford. We've actually got quite a few West London derbies in the Premier League this year. This is the first one we're going to see. Both teams also carrying an unbeaten run going into this game. So are both teams going to be able to preserve their unbeaten run? Definitely with Fulham, they've managed to pick up 2 points at the moment. A draw against Liverpool, which is great, and a draw against Wolves, but they were feeling like that he should have won it because Mitrovic did have a penalty right again, a great save by Sarr. But had Fulham scored that penalty, they'd be on 4 points and comfortably in top half right now. Brentford, you would arguably say they've been unbeaten in more epic circumstances, getting a 2-goal comeback in the final 5 minutes against Leicester and smashing Manchester United by 4-0. I'll be very surprised if you see a change in Brentford's squad. In terms of Fulham's squad, we have got a couple of injuries. I think Solomon and Harry Wilson are the two that stick to mind for me. There's been a couple players sidelined there, but overall I do think Fulham are looking like that they've got a good squad, and Marcus Silva has actually used the same two starting 11s as well. So I think both of these teams will go very similar. I think both will remain potentially unchanged, maybe even 1 or 2 changes here and there. As a prediction, I think actually we'll see goals in this one. I think both teams can be open at times. Both teams have got a good attack, I think, in my opinion, this year. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this game. Let me know what you think of this prediction in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leicester versus Southampton. This for me is a bit of a playing game for me. One thing I'll say with Leicester, they finally signed a player. Alex Smithies, the goalkeeper, of course. Championship fans will know that he used to be Cardiff. And actually he was number 1 for Cardiff for quite some time as well. He's now joined Leicester City. But for me, Leicester need to do more. Fofana has been heavily linked with Chelsea. Leicester are really tightening their grip. They really do not want to give Fofana away to Chelsea, which, I don't blame them, to be honest. But one thing I'll say about Leicester, which I'm a bit worried about them already this season, is the amount of goals they've conceded. They've only picked up 1 point at the start of the season, a 2-2 draw with Brentford where they were 2-0 up by the 85th minute, and a 4-2 defeat to Arsenal. Fair play to them against Arsenal though, because they did stay in the game, but unfortunately Arsenal really were able to catch them out a load of times, and I do think defensively they've been quite slack. And Southampton have got the attacking players to punish you. Southampton have also managed to complete a 2-goal comeback, so actually if Leicester do take the lead, Southampton know what to do in terms of getting a 2-goal comeback, because that's exactly what they did against Leeds United, What Hasenhüttl did though was very clever. He managed to change his formation, make a triple substitution, and ultimately Southampton looked a different team against Leeds and actually looked slightly better in that circumstance there. Is Hasenhüttl going to mastermind something here? For me, despite neither one of these teams winning so far, I do think one of them will win. And for me, I might edge the home team. I think the home crowd might help. I think the quality and options Leicester have, I think just slightly edges Southampton, but it's very close. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Leicester in this game. Let me know what you think of that score prediction, guys, in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Bournemouth versus Arsenal. So this is the late game for Saturday. Now, Arsenal have definitely started this season like a house on fire. They've already scored 6 goals in their opening 2 games, averaging 3 goals a game. So going forward, they've really improved. And I think Gabriel Jesus has been a big part of that attack. And I've got to say, Martinelli has been another player that I've been very, very impressed with in an attacking sense going forward. Bournemouth, they picked up their first win, of course, in the opening day of the season, but they were very heavily humbled by a 4-0 defeat against Manchester City. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Bournemouth respond, because Bournemouth now, they've got 3 really, really tough games back to back to back. And I do think Bournemouth, if they can maybe even sneak a draw on one of them, I think it'll actually be a decent, run that Bournemouth are currently on right now. I think off the ball is their strength. I think their work rate is really good, but I do think they do lack the essentials to have a consistent goal scorer in this level at least, and potentially to have a really robust defence. Because despite frustrating the likes of Haaland, they were still leaking so many goals in the end of it, unfortunately. As a prediction for this game, I think Arsenal will continue with their goal scoring reigns, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory to the Gunners. So a comfortable Arsenal win in my opinion. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leeds versus Chelsea, the Dennis Wise derby. I'm always really excited to see this game because it is 2 pretty fierce rivals actually, dating back since the 90s and the early 2000s. And both are on 4 points so far this season, both with 1 win and both with a draw. So whoever gets, the better result in this game will overtake the other team, going into match day 3, and that will be good for bragging rights' sake. Leeds threw away a 2-goal lead against Southampton. Rodrigo looking like that he got the points for Leeds United, but Southampton, as I said, did complete that really quick comeback. I think it was Kyle Walker-Peters that eventually got the last equalising goal. Chelsea, very similarly, had a lead and then they threw it away right at the end. And I'm always going to blame the officials and all of that, but one thing I will say, in terms of a football point of view, how could neither Reece James and Kalidou Koulibaly want to head the ball away more than Harry Kane does in winning the header and scoring the goal that ultimately stopped Chelsea winning this game? So defensively, we look okay, but I do think it lacks consistency still, and attack is a joke. Honestly, these 2 teams going forward are probably the most frustrating teams because both create many chances, but both are really bad at converting chances. So I think it'll be a very similar and very tight game. As a prediction for this game, though, I'm going to go for a draw. I don't have confidence in Chelsea with this one, actually. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, hoping that I'm wrong, of course, being a Chelsea fan, but I'm trying to take my bias out of it. Let me know what you think of that prediction in the comments down below. Next game to predict is West Ham versus Brighton. Now, West Ham have done a really, really good job recently. They've managed to go through in their next stage in the UEFA Conference League qualifiers. They beat Viborg by 3-1, so congratulations for them in that front there. They got to face a Brighton team who are still unbeaten in this league. They managed to beat Man United by 2-1 and draw with Newcastle by a 0-0 draw. And I've got to say, I think Brighton actually had the stronger chances in that game. I do think Brighton are developing something very, very nice, and I really, really always enjoy seeing Brighton progress to where they were when they were recently promoted from the Championship and looking at quite a nervy team and a very set-piece reliant team, but they've turned into a real footballing team, which is fantastic to see for Brighton. And Brighton have not lost to West Ham since they've been automatically promoted, so that is quite a stat and a half for Brighton. Although, to be fair, in their last 5 games, it's ended in a draw, actually. But, having said that, I do think West Ham are going to be a little bit fatigued. They had great players on the pitch getting some goals. Scamacca, for instance, scoring his first goal for West Ham. And I think Brighton, when they're up for it and when they can run more than you, I do think they're an awful team to play up against. As a prediction, I'm going to slightly edge the Seasiders actually. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Brighton. Let me know what you think of this prediction, guys, in the comments down below. The penultimate game to talk about is Newcastle versus Manchester City. People are running it the oil derby, and can we just enjoy the football? Let's just take the politics and the ownership out of it. I just want to enjoy a really good game of football because I actually think Newcastle at home especially, I think they'll make St James's Park a fortress. Man City, I think, will have to work very, very hard to get something there. Now, Manchester City are one of only two teams still with an 100% start. Them and Arsenal were the only two teams winning their opening 2 games so far this season. Newcastle, their strength, I think they'll definitely heavily defend it. And I do think Manchester City, if they do get run ragged, especially if they do get out-pressed in their midfield, I do think there are a couple of gaps that Newcastle can exploit. They've got the quality players to do so. But when you've got the likes of Kevin De Bruyne who can literally whip a moment out of nothing, Erling Haaland, when he's on the ball, he's very, very dangerous as well. I just think Man City got too many options for Newcastle to cope. I'm going to go for a narrow 2-0 away victory to Manchester City. But I do think actually it'll be a pretty slow start. I do think near the end, potentially 2 goals in the final 10 minutes for Manchester City. But I'll go for a narrow 2-0 win. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. The final game this weekend, undoubtedly the game that everyone's really excited about, is Manchester United going up against Liverpool. So, Manchester United, awful start to the season. Last place in the Premier League as well. Leaks are going out left, right and centre. Basically really putting the blame on Cristiano Ronaldo at the moment. Also the lack of accountability from the players as well. And there's been links linked with Harry Maguire, of course, as well. You know, everyone can see it, and you know it's in turmoil right now. But what I will say, Arsenal are now looking a lot better now, and they've had a very similar problem, you know, with media stories being leaked and players having a big ego. It goes to show within a couple of years things can turn around, and Manchester United really need to get a new approach into that squad. I really don't know what to suggest, honestly, but it is rotten to the core. They have been linked with ownership, so Jim Ratcliffe is linked with managing to take over as an ownership, which would be interesting competition for Chelsea because he was a heavy favourite with some Chelsea fans to take over Chelsea and Stamford Bridge. But it'll be interesting regardless to see if he does take over. Liverpool will be disappointed that they didn't win against Crystal Palace. Darwin Núñez getting sent off definitely didn't help things for Liverpool there. It was Diaz that managed to get something out of the game. But it's a disappointing start for Liverpool. No wins for them and 2 draws in a row. They could look at this game thinking, right, this is where we start the season. And honestly, I do think Liverpool will have fun here. I think Manchester United are just not ready, unfortunately. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to Liverpool, and that's potentially me being quite generous right now with the amount of goals that Manchester United can leak on their day. Let me know what you think of that prediction in the comments down below. So guys, that is my predictions done for the Premier League match day 3. As always guys, make sure you comment your predictions as well in the comments down below. But there we go, that's my predictions done. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do give the video a like. It just tremendous out the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. And please also share the channel too, that really helps too. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for joining in this video. As always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care everyone.